Dorm Life. Undead Ultra, Book 2. By Camille Picott. Narrated by Gwendolyn Druyor. Prologue. Outbreak. Jenna. Friday pop quiz, I announced to my boyfriend. What should we do tonight? We've spent all our money on the van, so the movies are out. The CDC goons have a blockade on the north end of town, which means the beach is out, and there's martial law curfew in effect, which means spray painting the back wall of Safeway is out. Carter sprawls on a sofa in the dorm common room with a tablet, reading reviews of the latest craft beer releases. He sits up as I speak, pushing his shaggy hair out of his eyes. Babe, has anyone ever told you you're a buzzkill? My sisters. I plop down on his lap. And my mom. They're idiots. He kisses my neck, his bushy beard tickling my skin. Let's see. The last time I talked with Rachel and Lisa, they brought up the time I left Stephanie Reiser's party early and embarrassed the family. My mom... Forget them. Carter silences me with a quick kiss on the lips. I heard Beta Sigma Epsilon is throwing a blockade party. You mean there's a CDC blockade, and the frat boys needed an excuse to throw a party? Pretty much. Wanna go? I never thought I'd hear you propose an outing to a frat party. But okay. There aren't many fraternities at Humboldt State University. The general populace frowns on anything resembling traditional establishment. I may have overheard my lab partner saying one of his frat brothers spent last weekend driving to a bunch of different microbreweries getting kegs. Carter says sheepishly. Ah, now the proposal makes more sense. Count me in, babe. An hour and a half later, the two of us are snuggled up on a grungy sofa watching a ping-pong drinking contest. We each have a red plastic pint glass in hand. Beta Sigma Epsilon does not disappoint in its beer choices. You look gorgeous, babe. Carter smiles at me over the rim of his plastic cup. A normal girl would appreciate her boyfriend's compliment. Not me. I can't find a way to break the old habit of blowing off compliments, even if Carter is unlike any boy I've ever dated. To be precise, he's 1,000 times better than any boyfriend I've ever had. But even that isn't enough to remake me. I ignore the comment and say, let me have another sip of that. I take the Pilsner out of Carter's hand, downing a long draught. I close my eyes and savor the golden liquid, blocking out the disappointed crease between Carter's eyes and wondering if I overdid it with the low-cut top. I wouldn't have even bought it if I didn't like the flowery pattern of the fabric so much. Oh, my God, I say, lowering the cup. Babe, we have to try and make something like this. I give him a quick kiss, hoping he'll see how into him I am. I was thinking the same thing. Carter's frown disappears. He snugs his arm around me. Let's call it the Elite. Elite? As in elite runner? He nods with a grin. Exactly. You're picking up on ultra-running jargon fast. I pull out a small sketch pad, my pencil running in delicate lines across the blank page. Carter leans in, one arm around my shoulder as he watches me draw. I've never let anyone watch me draw before. My mom and sisters give me crap for wanting to study art, so I made it a point of keeping it private most of the time. With Carter, instead of feeling self-conscious, I enjoy sharing the process with him. I draw a medal with the word elite on a graduated diagonal across it. Around the medal, I draw beams that shoot out from all sides, except they aren't beams of light. They're roads, complete with dotted yellow lines down the middle, but disguised to look like sunbeams. That's awesome, babe. I smile in thanks, both pleased and embarrassed. You're just saying that because you're drinking good beer. I'm saying it because my girlfriend is a kick-ass artist, and I can't wait to have her labels on our beer. I snuggle deeper into the crook of his arm, the sketchbook balanced on my knee where we can both see it. I might play around with the letters of Elite, and I'm not sure I like the corners. I take a sip from my beer. You have to try this. It's that lime IPA from Eureka. I didn't see that one. Carter takes the cup and drinks. Damn, that's good. I don't love our IPA recipe. We need to tweak it. We did tweak it, I say with a laugh. We just haven't had a chance to try it yet. I'm telling you, we should see about getting some lees from one of the wineries by my house back home. It will give us a richer flavor, plus it will be totally unique. We're targeting ultra runners, I say. Do you think they want beer made with wine lees? Lees are the leftover sediment usually filtered out of wine before it's bottled. Carter shrugs. If it tastes good, why not? Okay, then we should try it. Do you have any winery contacts who can hook us up? Yeah. My friend Todd works in a tasting room. His brother's girlfriend works in the winemaking lab. I'm sure one of them can help us get lees. Nice. Find out when they can get us lees and we'll take a road trip to pick it up. I look at him out of the corner of my eye. Maybe I can meet your mom if we're down that way? Carter hesitates before smiling at me through his beard. Sure. She'd love that. You don't want me to meet your mom, I say flatly. His recalcitrance hurts. I don't think his mom even knows about us. He shakes his head. It's not that, babe. You're awesome. I know my mom will love you when she gets to know you. It's just, I think on some level she'll feel like she's losing me, like she lost Dad. Having a girlfriend isn't the same thing as your dad passing away. I can't believe he'd compare us to his father's death. I know that. He looks away, a clear signal he wants to change the subject. I'll send a text to Todd and see if he can hook us up. A howl rends the air. I turn in time to see a small girl in a mini dress covered with Cheshire cats body slam a much larger frat boy onto the ping-pong table. The people gathered around give a collective shout of surprise and fall back. Beer cups fall to the ground, splashing golden liquid across shoes. The girl in the Cheshire cat dress leaps onto the pool table and pins the frat boy. Red lipstick is smeared all over her face, her mouth twisted in a snarl of determination. Her eyes are an eerie eggshell white. They roll discordantly in her face. What the hell? I mutter, tightening my grip on my beer cup as I take a sip. I will not be one of the losers who spills her drink. This beer is way too good to spill. I'd say she's pissed, Carter murmurs. What do you think? We both stop short as a cry of agony goes up from the boy sprawled on the ping-pong table. The crowd scatters, many of them tripping over one another in their haste to get away. That's when I see it. The girl in the Cheshire cat dress crouches on the ping-pong table like a predator, her face buried in the boy's neck. She rears back, letting out a growl of pleasure. Gripped between her teeth are chunks of flesh and sinew. Blood, not lipstick, paints a red rictus around her mouth. Gouts of blood spurt out of the boy as he flounders and convulses. Shit! I leap to my feet. My beer falls to the ground, my concern for it going out the window in light of the current circumstances. Carter reaches for me and shoves me behind him. Several frat boys close in on the scene, each of them grabbing a different limb of the girl and trying to drag her off the boy. She doesn't resist. Not at all. Instead, as soon as they grab her, she turns on them. She lunges straight at the boy who holds her wrist, sinking her teeth into his shoulder. From where I stand, I hear the sound of tearing fabric and flesh being gouged. I watched my fair share of horror movies in high school and junior high. I've seen countless scenes like this. Although, it's one thing to see it in a movie and another thing to see it at a frat party. Even though I know what I'm seeing, I can't form the word in my mind. Carter grabs my hand. I squawk in surprise as he swings us into the melee of fleeing students. It's pure panic in all directions. Students yell and scream in fear and confusion. I cling to Carter as he drags us toward safety. We're almost to the door when another girl charges into the crowd. Blood smears the front of her tie-dyed tank top. There's no question this time if the red around her mouth is lipstick. The crowd surges. I'm thrown forward, right into the path of the raging girl. I scream as I'm ripped from Carter's grasp and thrown to the ground. I'm going to die. The thought flashes through my mind as the crazed girl lunges for me. Her eyes are smooth, eggshell white. They roll in different directions in her sockets. Carter seizes a wad of the attacking girl's tank top. He yanks back ruthlessly. I scramble to my feet. Fleeing students split in a stream around us, desperate to get outside. Tie-dyed girl swings her attention to Carter. She bares bloody teeth. Carter releases her and kicks out hard. She flies backward, knocking over a few other students in her wake. We don't stop to see where she lands. We don't try to help the kids she knocked over. Carter grabs my hand, and we run. One week later. Jenna.
How long do you think she'll sleep?
Reed asks, running his hand through his afro and puffing it up.
I don't know,
Carter replies.
She's never run 200 miles before. Usually, after a 100-miler, she spends a day or two in bed.
I stand with my roommates in the common area of the dorm suite. All of us cluster around the short love seat where Carter's mom sleeps. Every one of us is fixated on her, staring at her like she's an exotic zoo animal.
Dude, that means she might sleep another 2 days,
Reed says.
I wish she'd gone to sleep somewhere else,
Eric grumbles.
It's kinda hard to play Call of Duty with her on the couch.
Dude, don't be an asshole. Lila flips her long black hair over one shoulder. She just ran 200 miles to find Carter. She deserves a little sleep.
I wonder if she'll let me write her story.
Johnny, never without a pen, chews on the plastic end.
We were just about to get the scorpion key.
Eric barely manages to tamp his shout down to a whisper yell. His shirt has come untucked around his burgeoning pot-belly. Your dumb solar panels won't last long enough for you to get the scorpion key, Lila snaps.
Did you guys see her feet? Johnny asks. I could write an entire novel about her feet. Dude, why are you even looking at her feet?
Reed frowns in disgust.
They look like they've been run over by a lawnmower. There's a story there.
I tune out the whispered conversation, taking in the near catastrophe that is my boyfriend's mom. 2 pillows are shoved under her calves, effectively elevating her legs. Her shoulder-length brown hair is washed but uncombed. She'd been too tired to comb it after she staggered out of her bucket shower last night. Gray roots show close to her scalp. Her exposed arms are covered with cuts, scratches, bruises, and poison oak. There's also a bullet wound. The stitches look like they were administered by a blind person, the threading uneven and crooked. Carter has been fretting about the wound since he found out about it. He hovers near her arm, staring down at the dirty, puckered red skin and scabs encrusting the black thread. He wants to dump disinfectant all over it, but we don't have any. Her feet, the current topic of conversation, are bare. There are more blisters than I can count. Some have been lanced and sealed with superglue. Others are big lumps of clear fluid. Others dark discs of blood. A few of her toenails are missing. The soles of her feet are cracked and scabbed. At some point during her 200-mile trek, she rolled an ankle. It's swollen to twice its normal size. All in all, my boyfriend's mom looks like hell. I've heard so much about this woman. but I don't know what to make of her. It was obvious to me early in our relationship that Carter and his mom are close, even if she sounds a bit weird. I can't fathom getting along or even liking a parental figure, but I want her to like me.
She's lost weight since I saw her last,
Carter says in a low voice, while Eric and Lila argue about the merits of the solar panels stolen off the university campus streetlights to power the Xbox. She just traveled 200 miles on foot in 3.5 days, I remind him. That's a crash diet for sure. If the world hadn't turned upside down, Carter's mom could slap a fancy name on it and market it as the new weight loss fad. Hell, my mom and older sister would be the first to sign up. Half of Southern California follows diet crazes the way beagles follow the scent of dead animals. I try not to think about my family in Los Angeles. It's been a few days since cell phone service went out. I imagine them safe in our family cabin at Big Bear Lake. The last I spoke to them, that's where they'd been headed.
I have to raid some of the other dorm rooms and find first aid supplies.
I must not be hearing well with all the whispered arguing around me. I turn to Carter with a frown. What?
I have to raid some of the other dorm rooms and find first aid supplies for her. My mom needs calamine lotion and some disinfectant for her blisters and cuts and the bullet wound. An ace bandage for her ankle would be good, too.
Okay, maybe I did hear him correctly. We don't know which of the rooms are empty, I say, returning to the argument I've heard every time I pitch the idea of raiding other rooms for supplies. None of my companions, not even Carter, has felt a compelling need to secure the rest of our building or organize supplies.
We'll have to use the attack and stack method to draw them out, Carter replies, like we did in this room.
Sure. Okay. I guess if Carter's mom is what it takes to get him and everyone else mobilized, I can't complain. Cannabis oil can help with the poison oak, Lila pipes up from the far side of the couch. Her dark eyes brighten at the challenge of creating yet another marijuana recipe for healing. I'll see if I can make a salve. Eric snorts.
You think pot cures everything. Mom, my dick won't go down,
Reed says in a high-pitched voice.
Can I have some marijuana lube?
Lila plants her hands on her hips, almond eyes narrowing at Reed and Eric. Laugh now, assholes. When I'm living in a mansion, you losers will still be drooling over Call of Duty and working deadbeat jobs at the local mini-mart.
When you're arrested for breaking federal law peddling marijuana salves, we'll send you a care package in prison,
Eric replies. Cannabis is legalized in more and more states every year. It's only a matter of time before the federal government legalizes it. And who are you to criticize me for wanting to make and sell cannabis products? You used to trade pot brownies and pot butter for term papers. I suppress a groan, not in the mood to listen to yet another argument between Lila and Eric. They hadn't liked each other before the zombie outbreak. Now that the two of them are stuck in the same dorm suite, the arguing is endless. Eric spreads a palm over his heart.
I make products for recreational pleasure. I don't ride around on a high horse because I know how to grind a few buds with a mortar and pestle with some coconut oil.
There is way more to my recipes than buds and coconut oil.
You two need to get high and fuck already, Johnny says.
That shuts up everyone. Lila, red-faced, storms off and slams her bedroom door. Eric stalks into the kitchen and bangs around in the cupboards, rifling for something. He makes enough racket to wake the dead, but Carter's mom doesn't stir.
Way to go, bro.
Reed exchanges a fist bump with Johnny.
I thought they'd never shut up.
It's called shock value, Johnny replies. A valuable writing technique when employed effectively. Reed heads toward the door.
We going on a raid or what?
He says to Carter. I'm surprised he even heard Carter's plan above all the arguing. I'm going, I say. No way do I want Carter venturing into other rooms without someone to watch his back. I don't trust our stoner roommates.
Room raid?
Eric stops his banging in the kitchen.
I'm going too. I'm all out of brownie mix.
Reed snorts with amusement.
Planning to make some of your famous brownies just to needle Lila?
Eric grins.
Maybe.
He jams his feet into worn sneakers.
Whoa!
Carter holds up his hands.
This is a raid to help my mom. That's it. Dude, we can help your mom and get brownie mix,
Eric says.
Besides, if we need to take down any of those things, you know I'm good with my spear.
He hefts a sturdy chair leg from the pile in the entryway. The handmade weapons, created on the fly when we were trapped in a dorm room, have become our go-to zombie-killing weapons.
I'll stay here,
Johnny says, scratching at his enormous sideburns.
Someone has to look after our new roomie.
He indicates Carter's slumbering mother, who has yet to stir in all this commotion. Why are you coming? I ask Reed.
I'm bored,
he replies, once again fluffing his afro with his hands.
Look, this isn't a joke,
Carter says.
You all know what we could encounter in the other rooms.
All the more reason for you to have backup. I smile sweetly at him, shoving a chair-leg spear through my belt. We're going to help you, babe. Get over it. Two. Clearance. Jenna. You're risking your life to help your mom. As soon as I say the words, I realize how lame they sound. Families are supposed to help one another. That's what normal people do. Carter glances up as we file into the hallway. There is exactly one other confirmed empty dorm room on this floor. The only reason we know it's empty is because we'd been hiding in it until it caught fire and we'd been forced to clear it. Unfortunately, a search of that room yielded a handful of Band-Aids. We have to raid more rooms to find the things Kate needs.
She almost died to keep our family together, Carter replies. The least I can do is get her some calamine lotion and other stuff to help her heal.
My mom once ran 2 red lights to get me acne cream before prom, I reply. Carter chuckles, leaning down to plant a kiss on my lips. I wrap my arms around his waist and return the kiss. I don't think this boy has any idea how crazy I am about him.
Don't worry, babe, Carter says. I'll kill zombies to get you acne cream if you need it.
I whack him on the shoulder, grinning despite myself. Carter always knows how to make me laugh. If our cell phones still worked, my mom would tell you to get me makeup and skin toner while you're there.
I'll add it to my list. We should check out Kevin Cassidy's room,
Eric says.
That guy wanted to be a medic. I bet he has first aid stuff. Good idea,
Carter says, heading 3 doors down. I follow him with the others, tightening my grip on my spear. We should have done this days ago instead of huddling inside the safety of our room. There are valuable supplies in the other dorm rooms, supplies we are eventually going to need. We cluster in front of the plain brown door, staring at it in silence. After a moment, Carter raises his spear and raps it against the wood. At first, nothing happens. Carter raps several more times. Something thumps against the door. We jump back, all of us instinctively raising our spears. A few seconds later, another loud thump vibrates the door. Through the wood comes the sound of moaning.
There's at least 2 of them,
Carter murmurs.
Eric, you brace the door. Try only to let one of them come out at a time.
Eric nods. He grips the door handle, positioning his feet on the floor. Reed, Carter, and I form a half-semicircle near the opening. This method of clearance has been dubbed attack and stack. We learned it from Kate. It means stacking our opponents in a narrow opening so they can't all rush us at once. As I raise my chair leg, holding it like a spear, I feel like a different person. I'm not the daughter of a plastic surgeon who grew up in high-speed Southern California amid people who spent their days worrying about fashion and hairstyles. I'm not the girl who dreams about graduating from college and starting a business with her boyfriend. That girl doesn't kill people. That girl is a person who likes to draw, paint, and antagonize her materialistic mother. This girl, who wields a wooden spear, is someone from a different world. This other person is necessary. She has to come out from time to survive. At Carter's nod, Eric turns the door handle. A zombie throws itself into the opening. Eric shoves his weight against the door to keep the thing from barreling into us. The creature's shoulder gets lodged in the doorway, its arm swiping out at us. I dart forward and jam my spear through the narrow opening. I get a brief glimpse of a face, one white eye exposed as the zombie snarls and tries to reach us. I recognize Kevin, the medic in training. My stomach clenches, but I force myself to act. I sink my spear into his blind eye, grimacing at the squishy feeling as the wood punctures his brain. I yank my spear free. Kevin slumps down. A second zombie clambers over him, pushing against the opening. The door swings open another few inches. "Hold it!" Carter leaps forward. He attacks the girl in the opening. I recognize her as Kevin's girlfriend. I think her name was Jennifer. Carter's spear smashes her nose and pierces her face. She thumps to the floor. Dead.
"Now that is a perfect attacking stack,"
Eric says, wiping sweat off his nose.
"Your mom would be proud, Carter."
"Look out!" Carter shouts. A third zombie smashes into the door. It flies open, throwing Eric off his feet. A boy named Stewie, half of his arm chewed off, launches himself straight at Reed. Carter and I surge forward as Reed is thrown to the ground. He has just enough time to raise his spear, but it bursts through Stewie's midsection. The zombie lands on top of Reed, snarling and snapping. With a shout, I shove my spear downward. It glances off the side of Stewie's head, only managing to scrape off a portion of his scalp. Damn it! I haul my arm back, preparing for a second strike. Reed is screaming, pushing desperately against Stewie's sternum in an effort to keep from getting bitten. Carter's spear punches through Stewie's skull. Blackish-red blood spatters everywhere. Stewie gives one last snap of his teeth before collapsing.
"Fucking shit!"
Reed shoves Stewie away and leaps to his feet.
"Motherfucker!"
He swipes at his face and clothing, presumably to clear away the blood. All he manages to do is smear it.
"That guy and I used to get high together."
"You all right?" I ask.
"No, man,"
Reed replies.
"I need to get high. You guys are on your own for this shit."
He turns away and heads for the stairwell, the heavy metal door banging shut behind him as he heads downstairs to the lounge. Reed has a favorite couch down there where he likes to nap after getting stoned.
"You guys okay?"
Carter looks me and Eric up and down. "I'm okay," I reply, peering into the dark interior of the dorm. "Do you think it's empty?"
"Nothing else is charging out at us,"
Eric observes.
"If there is something else inside, it's probably behind a closed door, or it would be here with Stewie and the others,"
Carter says.
"I think it's safe for us to go in."
I draw in a breath to steady my nerves, reminding myself we're eventually going to have to clear every room in this building if we hope to pull together enough supplies to survive for a while. It's been a growing point of frustration with me that no one has been interested in taking a serious look at the dwindling supplies in our dorm kitchen. We'd all be going hungry by now if not for Lila's weird obsession for buying in bulk at Costco. The three of us creep into the dorm. Blood is smeared all over the floor and across one wall. In the kitchen lies a body, most of it eaten down to the bone. I cover my mouth and nose with one hand, trying not to be sick. Carter squeezes my shoulder before leading us the rest of the way inside. A quick search of the rooms and closets shows the place to be deserted. I even check under the sink for good measure. We found Johnny hiding under the sink of our room after we cleared it.
"You go help your boyfriend,"
Eric says, opening the cupboards.
"I'm on brownie mix patrol."
"Pull out everything you find that's edible," I reply. "We're going to need the food." Eric replies with a non-committal, "Uh-huh," as he rifles through cupboards. I purse my lips in frustration and head off in search of Carter. I find him digging through a closet in one of the bedrooms. I opt to search underneath the bunk bed. I don't even know if this was Kevin's room, but it seems like a good place to store supplies. I don't find any medical supplies, but I do find a case of unopened Cliff Bars. Score! I pull it out and deposit it on the desk near the window. The blinds are open, giving me a full view of the parking lot below. Flies gather on the pile of bodies off to one side, a black amoebic mass that shifts and roils. At least 24 vultures hop around on the bodies, pecking at eyes and tearing off strips of flesh with their beaks. Vultures have an amazing biological design. I make my voice light, trying to ignore the sick feeling I experience every time I see all the bodies.
"How so?"
Carter joins me at the window. "Look at their heads. No feathers, just that rubbery skin. Perfect for sticking inside dead things to eat." I sigh. Maybe humanity will evolve like that in another 100 years.
"I just had a disturbing mental image of hairless humans with rubbery red heads."
Carter wrinkles his nose.
"Thank God this will all be a bad memory in the history books before that happens."
I give him what I hope is an agreeable smile, even if I don't agree. Everyone except me seems to think this is a storm we have to ride out until the government gets its shit together and cleans up things. I'm not convinced. But it's not worth arguing about. There's enough arguing in the house about pot and video games. Throwing the future of humanity into the mix will only give me a headache. My gaze twitches back to the flies, the vultures, and the dead. Carter and I could have easily been among the pile if not for sheer dumb luck. Dumb luck and Carter's clear thinking in a moment of crisis. Automatic rifle fire. Screams. Carter and I, holed up in a tiny dorm room, peered through the window. Hummers and a military tank rolled down Granite Avenue. We barely escaped my infected roommate when she attacked and tried to bite us. Now we hunkered down in the suite next door. Eric and Reed, 2 of the guys who lived in Creekside, were with us. Also with us was Lila, whom we'd found running hysterically through the hallway. "What are they doing?" I whispered. "Why would they bring a tank onto campus?"
"Some of the worst outbreaks were at College Creek Apartments on the other side of the school."
Eric puffed on a joint, taking long, desperate drags. The glowing tip was the only light in the stuffy room. "My point exactly," I said. "Shouldn't soldiers be helping anyone who's not infected? Like, helping us evacuate? They don't need tanks for that."
"Maybe it's standard protocol."
Reed snagged the joint from Eric, taking his own desperate drag.
"You know, we're going into an area hit with a biological disaster."
A bad feeling settled in my gut. I pulled out my phone and called my mom. As the call connected, I heard muffled music in the background. "Mom? Are you guys okay? Are Rachel and Lisa with you?"
"Hey, weirdo."
Rachel's voice came over the line. My little sister, though only 15, managed to speak with an air of authority that comes from a lifetime of getting what she wants. When she was little, it was because she had a mop of blonde curls and big, innocent blue eyes. By the time she was 13, she had the figure of an adolescent supermodel and wasn't above flashing a smile or her cleavage to get what she wanted. Mom always said I could learn a lot from my little sister. "Rachel, put Mom on," I said. "There is some crazy stuff going on up here. I don't know how widespread it is, but you guys should load up on supplies and get out to the cabin just in case. Stay there for a week or so until all this blows over." Rachel makes a sound of disgust into the receiver. "Look, I know you have a lot of crazy nonconformists and sweat lodges up in Hippieville, but don't get your panties in a twist. Police and military are keeping the streets safe around here. There's a curfew in place, which makes it hard to hang out with friends, but—" "Rachel!" It's all I could do not to shout into the phone. "We have armed soldiers with guns on campus. I think things are more serious than we've been led to believe." This earned another grunt of disgust from my little sister. "This is what you get for picking that stupid school. You had a scholarship to Loyola, Jen. None of us knows what you were thinking, and don't get me started on that hairy boyfriend of yours." The sound of gunfire makes us all jump. I drop the phone, crowding around the window with my companions. "Jan! Jan, what the hell?" Rachel's voice carried from the dropped phone, but I barely registered her words. "Whatever. Call us back when you're done being a freak." The Hummers disgorged dozens of soldiers, all of them in full battle armor. Even more flowed out of the tank. Everyone was armed. They spread out down the street, machine guns poised to fire. They looked like they were headed into a Middle Eastern war zone, not a tiny college campus in sleepy Northern California. "Oh, shit." Carter pressed his index finger against the glass. "Look." Coming up the road was a cluster of white-eyed, loping students. They were bloodied and wounded, some more grisly than others. Some had nothing more than a bloody arm or leg, while others had gaping necks and deep cavity gouges. "That's why they're here," Lila announced, voice shrill with anxiety. "The soldiers are protecting us." My hands grew clammy as I watched the white-eyed students surge up the road. Zombies. The word was impossible. Or so it had seemed only a few days ago. But I'd seen enough to know exactly what those white-eyed people were. Carter and I had seen them tear into fellow students too many times to count. Maybe they're rounding up the kids for the CDC. The CDC tents on the outskirts of town had been here for over 2 weeks. Were they going to round up the sick, carnivorous kids? Put them in holding cells while the CDC worked on a cure? Worse, would they put them in a concentration camp? There were so many of them, and it wasn't just students who were infected. All over the small town of Arcata, people were attacking and biting other people. Fire leaped from the tips of the machine guns, launching a barrage of lead into the oncoming students. I screamed. Carter grabbed me, holding me close, but I couldn't peel my eyes away from the horror. As bullets flew from the machine guns, students collapsed to the ground, felled by headshots.
"They can't do that,"
Reed whispered, glued to the window beside us.
"They can't just kill people. They're sick."
Eric's voice cracked with emotion.
"They need help."
Then one of the soldiers turned his weapon on a nearby dorm. Perhaps he saw a sick kid in the doorway. Who knows? Whatever the reason, he opened fire. What happened next was nothing short of a stampede. Screaming students poured out of the dorm. Some scrambled out windows and tried to scale down balconies. Others tried to barrel out the front door. Some were sick. I saw blood-smeared bodies and white eyes that almost seemed to glow in slack faces. But there were more healthy students than sick ones. And then all the dorms seemed to open and spill forth students. We even saw people from Creekside flooding out the front doors. My muscles twitched, the sight of so many fleeing students making me want to flee too.
"Dudes, we gotta go."
Reed shifted, body angled toward the door.
"No way."
Carter grabbed him, pulling him back.
We're not running toward the men with guns. That's just stupid. But what if we get stuck here? Eric asked. What if...
The soldiers turned toward the mass of kids descending on them. They never once let up on the triggers. Bullets sprayed fire and death. Students, both dead and alive, fell. There was only one explanation for the carnage. The government was doing damage control. They didn't have a cure. They were trying to contain the zombie outbreak, to keep it from spreading. The military opened fire on everything and anything that moved on Granite Avenue. Following Carter's instinct to hunker down and stay put in the dorm room had saved us. I tried to block out the memory of the slaughter. There is no other word to describe what happened.
I'm pretending I'm making a supply run for Mom at an Ultra,
Carter says, turning away from the window.
Dad and I always used to run to the local drugstore to get her stuff during races.
His voice drops.
Except, this is the first time I've ever had to deal with a bullet wound.
She's going to be okay, I say, giving his hand a squeeze. We'll get her the things she needs. We finish searching the room. We find a half-used tube of Neosporin in a desk drawer, which Carter pockets, but no other first aid supplies.
I don't think this is Kevin's room,
Carter says. We'll find it, I reply. Let's go search the others. As we cross the hall to the next bedroom, we hear a shout of glee from the kitchen.
Ghirardelli brownies,
Eric crows.
These things are the best.
Carter rolls his eyes as he enters the next room. I spot a stack of textbooks on the floor. Carter, look at these. I spread the books out on the desk so we can read the titles. Emergency Response Guidebook, Paramedic, On the Front Lines of Medicine, Paramedics Care, Principles and Practice.
This must be Kevin's room.
Carter hurries to the closet. I yank open desk drawers. I find 2 more books and add them to the ones on the desk. These could come in handy. Just as I head to search under the bed, Carter lets out a yell of triumph.
First aid kit.
He emerges from the closet, beaming. Clutched in his hands is a red canvas first aid kit. The price tag still dangles from the zipper. It doesn't look like it's ever been opened, I say, returning his grin. Carter unzips the kit, laying it open on the bed. He pulls out a folded inventory list tucked inside the interior pocket.
Everything we need is in here,
he says, scanning the list.
Looks like you guys scored.
Eric wanders in with 2 boxes of brownie mix under one arm.
Mrs. S will be patched up in no time.
Did you find anything else useful in the kitchen? I ask. Eric shrugs.
There's food and stuff.
Food and stuff. I check a sigh, making a mental note to come back later to organize and inventory things.
We should clear out these bodies,
Carter says, zipping shut the first aid kit.
Take them outside with the rest.
Outside in the hallway, we each grab a body by the ankles and drag them toward the stairwell. I grimace at the blood we smear across the floor. It joins several other smears left over from the zombies we cleared out of our current residence earlier this week. I make it a point not to look directly into the ruined face of Jennifer, who had once been a living, breathing person. Spear-wielding Jenna doesn't let herself get caught up in memories of the dead. Three. Disposal. Jenna. The head of the dead thump against the stairs, filling the air like discordant drum beats. My hands, gripping the dead girl's ankles, are slick with sweat. I have dragged exactly 4 bodies out of Creekside. I helped kill more than that, but I only had to dispose of 4. How many more will I have to drag out before I get used to the heavy weight of a dead body? We reach the lounge on the first floor. I pause just inside to catch my breath as Eric and Carter drag their burdens toward the exit. "Where's Reed?" I ask, realizing the lounge is empty except for the three of us. Carter frowns, scanning the room.
"Do you think he went outside?"
"Why would he go outside?" Eric asks, wrinkling his nose. Except to get rid of bodies, no one in Creekside has gone outside since the military slaughter. "He went down the stairs," I reply. "We all saw him, and he's not here."
"We'll look for him," Carter says. "He couldn't have gone far. Maybe he just needed some fresh air."
The swinging glass front door of Creekside is mostly intact. There's a jagged hole near the bottom corner, but overall it came through the military attack in better shape than any other dorm entrances I've seen. Outside Humboldt University campus is eerily quiet. Between the students that evacuated before the quarantine went into effect, the hundreds that were turned into zombies, and those slaughtered by the military during the riot, we have yet to see other humans around here. The bodies left to rot all along the street are an inescapable memory. The smell is almost enough to knock me over. It's worse than a gym locker room, worse than the dump, worse than the time my childhood cat left a dead squirrel under our house. It's like all three smells combined, then magnified. I'm not sure whether to breathe through my nose or mouth. I should have thought to bring a handkerchief. I pull up the collar of my t-shirt, covering my nose. I glance over at Carter to see how this is affecting him. His mouth is set in a hard line, the skin around his eyes pinched. I try not to look at the bodies, but it's impossible. I recognize some of them. Darren from Chemistry 101, Laura from Spanish 2, Clinton from Creekside. All killed. All gunned down. There are soldiers mixed with the students. Some of the soldiers fell from zombies, but others were taken down by students. In the panic of the shooting, some students seized weapons from fallen soldiers. Others attacked with bats, kitchen knives, whatever they had on hand. Someone fired a rocket launcher at one of the dorm buildings, leaving half of it collapsed. I swallow, letting myself succumb to the memories. There's no blocking out the horror of that day. What did Carter's mom think when she saw the carnage? I don't see any sign of Reed. Where could he have gone? We add the bodies to the growing pile in the far corner of the parking lot near a gazebo, sending a dozen vultures into the sky. I avert my eyes, even though it's impossible not to see the writhing maggots in the bodies. Sooner or later, we're going to have to figure out what to do with all the dead, especially if we plan to stay in Creekside for the long term.
"Have you guys noticed there aren't any guns?" Eric asks.
"What?" I frown at him.
"With the bodies," he replies. "There are lots of dead soldiers, but no guns."
I hadn't noticed. I glance at the nearby pile of dead on the road. It's a jumble of soldiers and students. Eric is right. There are no weapons.
"You think someone came through and rounded them up?" Carter asks. "Yeah." Eric nods. "It's what I would do. Maybe the military did it before they pulled out."
"Maybe." I try to pretend it's no big deal, even though the absence of weapons leaves me uneasy. Where could they have gone? 2 gunshots split the air, sending a jolt of fear through me. Reed comes tearing around the side of a nearby dorm.
"Hide," he hisses. "We have to hide."
His eyes are wide with terror, the whites showing all the way around his irises. His skin is pale with fear. Reed sprints into the darkened alcove of Willow, a dorm in the same cluster of buildings as Creekside. Carter grabs my hand, pulling me after Reed. Eric is right behind us. Reed darts through the jagged opening of Willow's front door, which was shot to pieces with bullets. He catches his shoulder on a glass shard. He never even slows, tearing his shirt free and disappearing into the darkness beyond. Shit, there could be more zombies inside. Or possibly other people. What the hell is going on? I hesitate outside of Willow. My eyes sweep the buildings and parking lot, looking for the source of the gunshots. All I see are bodies and abandoned cars. The only thing that moves is a paper Starbucks cup pushed across the blacktop by an invisible wind.
"We should get inside,"
Carter says.
"Someone shot at Reed."
I want to go back to Creekside, but it didn't miss my notice that Reed ran away from our dorm, not toward it. I nod in reluctant agreement and duck into the dark building with Carter and Eric. Inside are bodies, blood, and overturned furniture.
"Back here!"
Reed gestures to us from behind an overturned sofa. We obey, hurrying to the blood-smeared sofa. I grab Carter's hand. He flattens himself in beside me, putting his free hand around my waist. I rest my head against his chest, breathing hard. Eric turns toward Reed, mouth opening in question. Reed shakes his head emphatically back and forth, his message clear. Be quiet. We wait in silence. Reed's eyes are wild, his usually perfect afro in disarray. Seconds tick by. They stretch into minutes. When 15 minutes has passed, I gesture to get Reed's attention. Is it safe to move yet? Reed hesitates. Then I hear it. The voice.
"Where the fuck did that little weasel go?" "I saw the others in the parking lot. He must be around here somewhere,"
says a second voice.
"They could be hiding in any of these buildings."
The two people don't speak loudly, but in the dead quiet of Humboldt University, they may as well be shouting through a megaphone.
"Mr. Rosario will be pissed if he gets away. You know how she feels about thieves. We'll find him."
The voices fade as the two people move away. The four of us wait in silence. When several minutes have passed, Reed peeks over the sofa.
"Out the back,"
he whispers.
"There are no doors in the back,"
Carter points out. Reed shakes his head.
"We have to use a window. Too risky to go out front. They could find us."
"Who are they?" I ask. "What has Reed gotten us into?" He shakes his head.
"I'll tell you later."
We follow Reed to the back of the downstairs dorm lounge. Even though I'm pissed that he put us all in danger, I don't want to compound the situation by arguing with him now. The darkness is thick, but the smell of death is unmistakable. We find 3 bodies near the bathroom, all with headshots. Bullet casings crunch underfoot. From the grisly wounds on their bodies, they look to have been zombies when they were executed. I hope so. Carter opens a busted window. Pieces of glass shake free. We slip outside.
"We have to get back to Creekside, but we have to stay out of sight,"
Reed tells us, voice compressed with fear.
"We don't want those guys to know where we live. Come on."
His fear is contagious. My skin crawls. I glance up at the dark, empty windows of Willow Dorm, feeling like we're being watched. Carter grabs my hand and squeezes it, giving me a reassuring smile. The dorm buildings sit in a loose circle, broken up by chunks of land crowded with redwood trees. Following Reed's lead, we race along the back of the dorms and dart through the forested areas. The wooded parts leave me feeling exposed and vulnerable. I wish I'd brought my spear outside. I make a silent vow never again to leave Creekside without some sort of weapon, not even for a minute. We sprint as fast as we can, making as little noise as possible. Only when we reach the back of Creekside do we double over to catch our breaths. This short little run makes me see how out of shape I am. I vow to do something about that, too. I glance at the minivan parked under the trees behind the dorm. Carter and I bought that van together a few months ago and named it Skip. It's covered in a layer of grime, looking as sad and ruined as everything else out here.
"You owe us an explanation," Carter tells Reed. "What's going on?" "Inside first," Reed says. "I'll explain after that, I promise."
He reaches for the nearest window, his hand and wrist snaking through the shattered opening. The loud click of a gun's safety sends a jolt of panic through me. Carter leaps forward, pressing me back against the wall as two figures emerge around the building.
"There you are,"
says the foremost of the two men, leveling his gun at us.
"You should have known better than to run from us."